Good afternoon, all. As an introduction, my name is Issa Aghabi. I head the investment activities at 2454 Abu Dhabi. We at 24 believe in supporting entrepreneurship and do so in many different ways, including our corporate venture capital activities, strategic partnerships with international and regional media companies, talent support and initiatives, and our latest partnership with Flat 6 Labs for incubation and acceleration. We currently manage a portfolio of over 14 direct investments in early stage and growth companies in the wider media sector. Building a sustainable entrepreneurial ecosystem is one of the key objectives at 2454, and I welcome you all after this panel to discuss possible synergies. Now for the good stuff. The purpose of this session is to look at two companies targeting Middle East, one global, another local, and learning from their experiences. As we all know, there has been a significant startup boom in the Arab world, and we wanted to get direct insights from two people on the ground in this space. That being said, I would call upon my esteemed panelists. They are one of the disruptors of the regional international transportation space. Please welcome Magnus, the co-founder of Careem. And Jambu, the regional general manager, Middle East and Africa of Uber. So we're going to start this panel off with a quick presentation from both sides. Magnus is kick-started from Careem. So I'll leave the stage for you.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, Abu Dhabi. My name is Magnus Olsson, and I am one of the co-founders of Careem. And it's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you today. Careem was born here. As a matter of fact, Careem was founded on the first day of Ramadan, a bit more than 2 years ago, in my study, in my house on Karama Street here in Abu Dhabi. It was the result of a bit of a soul-searching exercise that me and my co-founder Mudassir had been through. We had both experienced some life-changing events, and we wanted to do something meaningful with our lives. And as we were discussing, there were two things that came to mind. The first thing was we wanted to build something. And we wanted to build something that could become huge. And the second thing was we had a strong desire to making a difference. So in our previous lives as management consultants, we spent most of our time traveling across the region. And while being on the road, there was one thing that was a little bit more painful than others, and that was ground transportation. So we said, maybe this is a space where we can do something to actually improve and have an impact. And when we started studying the ground transportation opportunity, we realized that yes, this could actually deliver on our objectives. Number one, it has the potential of being huge. Passenger transport in the GCC alone is a $5 billion opportunity. And yes, there was an opportunity here to actually improve people's lives. Both the customers that were suffering from not fantastic customer experience, and to the local business owners, the taxi and limo company owners, and the drivers that were operating in this space. So we said, let's do it. Fast forward to today, 2.5 years later, Careem is now operating our car service across 13 cities in the broader Middle East, from Cairo in the west to Karachi and Lahore in the east. And we serve both corporate and consumers. And they basically use our mobile apps, our website, or our call center to book a car. They can book it for right now, we call it now, or they can pre-schedule it for later. And the one thing we have really focused on is reliability. And if you book a car with Careem, in more than 99% of cases, the car will be there on time. We are growing about 30% every month since we started, and we're backed by a number of regional investors, both angels as well as STC Ventures, which is the VC arm of Saudi Telecom. Now, let me share a little bit with you about our story, how we got here. So, as a startup, you need to focus. So we decided to start with what we knew really well, and that was the corporate travel space. And the need of the corporate traveler was not all the fancy features that we have today, that you can book on your app, you can track the car as it comes to you, you get SMS notifications with the details of the driver and the car. None of that was really important. The need was much, much more basic. It was basically, I want an ability to pre-book a car, even if it's for 5 a.m. in the morning, even if it's from a neighborhood that do not have street signs. And I want to be sure that that car shows up on time outside my house and takes me to my destination without getting lost. Particularly if I'm about to catch a flight or if I'm going to that really important client meeting. So we said, okay, let's start there. And 5 weeks, only 5 weeks after we started Careem, we launched our first MVP, our minimal viable product, which was basically a very simple website where customers could go and they could book a car. From that very humble starting point and that simple website, we have kept evolving. And the way this works is that you need to be really, really close to the markets you serve. And we constantly listen to our customers and to our captains. That's what we call the drivers that we're working with. And you listen to them, you see a need, and you come up with a solution to that need. And you keep going and going and going. And I wanted to highlight 3 particular needs that we have found solutions for in the markets where we operate. So the first one, mapping infrastructure. As most of you know, many parts of the Middle East still don't have proper street addresses. So, and navigation is primarily landmark-based. So if you want to find the Rosewood Hotel or Abu Dhabi Airport, that is relatively easy. But what if you want to find your friend's villa in Khalifa City A? It's a bit more tricky. So we realized this from day one, and we decided that we actually need to invest in building our own location databases for all the cities where we operate. A second thing we realized from day one was that customers actually like to talk to someone on the phone. And we decided, okay, so we need to set up, we cannot only be a tech company, we need to actually set up this call center. And initially the intention was that we were going to serve our customers, we were going to help them make bookings, answer their questions, and that's it. But very quickly we realized that there was another side of the coin, and that was we need to have this call center to actually support our captains. Very often, due to communication challenges, they didn't understand some requests from the customers, or they simply needed help with that last mile navigation. In fact, we still believe that having this 24/7 call center, and we actually call it the operations center, operations room, is key to being able to deliver a super reliable service all the time. And this team is basically the ones that step in where technology falls short. Because, as you will understand, this is a very operational business. I mentioned that we started by serving corporates, but very quickly word of mouth got around and customers and consumers started using us for all sorts of use cases. And maybe one of the more interesting ones was when families across our cities started to entrust us with their most precious goods, their children. And before we knew it, we were trafficking kids, not trafficking, apologies for the expression. We were driving around kids to nurseries and to schools all around the cities where we operate. I have a 5-year-old girl, and she's probably one of our most frequent customers in Abu Dhabi. We pick her up from Cranley every day. Now, we wanted to serve these young customers even better. So about 2 weeks ago, we launched a new product in Dubai that we call Careem Kids. And this is basically a dedicated fleet of cars that has child seats pre-installed in the cars. And the drivers are trained on how to use it. And this has been amazingly well received by a lot of families in Dubai. And we look to how we can roll this out in other cities as well. Now, the last example, and maybe this is the most local that I'll give you today, and it's a bit funny as well, is what we did in Jeddah for Eid this year. So we partnered with an organic halal farm in Jeddah. And we basically allowed our customers to open the app or the website and order a sheep. It was 2,500 Saudi riyals. And basically what we would do is that the driver would go to the farm and pick this up and deliver it to your house on the first day of Eid al-Adha. And I'll tell you one thing, it created an enormous hype across the kingdom. The higher purpose of Careem is to transform the lives of the people in all the regions where we operate, and to inspire others to do the same. As many of you would know, Careem in Arabic means to be generous. And we want to be generous in the way we operate. We want to be generous with our customers, we want to be generous with our colleagues, and we want to be generous with our captains. Now, what does this mean? For customers, it's pretty simple. We want to deliver an awesome service, and where we fall short, because that happens sometimes, we want to win them back by providing excellent customer service. With our colleagues, we want them to feel part of the Careem family, part of this journey and building this together. And as a matter of fact, every full-time employee of Careem has stock options, which I believe is quite unique, particularly in the Middle East. And lastly, maybe most close to my heart, are our captains. We really care about these guys. They often come from quite humble backgrounds. They come out here to make a living, to put their kids through school, to feed their families. And life is not easy. More often than not, they don't have the right training and skill set to provide a good service. And we try to help them with that. So we invest a lot in them, we upskill them, and we celebrate them. We make them feel proud of what they're doing. And one of those things we launched recently is what we call Careem Giving, which is an umbrella of initiatives to actually support our captains even more. One example is during Ramadan, when we launched this initiative to match all the tips that our customers could give. So in Careem, you can tip your captain after the ride. And during Ramadan, Careem matched all the tips, so the drivers made twice as much money. And on the picture here, you see we had a recent event in Dubai where the top 4 drivers, we wanted to celebrate them really and really get to feel what is it really like to be a captain. So we sent them on a helicopter tour across Dubai. And I'll tell you one thing, this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these guys. You can call me romantic, but our idea is for Careem to be a seed of positive change in the region, a seed of all of us being more Careem, and of bringing people together across all the cities where we operate. Thank you so much for the time, and I look forward to being on the panel.
Thank you, Magnus. We'd like to have Jambu up on stage to give his 10-minute presentation.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really a privilege to be here in Abu Dhabi. My name is Jambu Palaniappan. I'm the general manager for Uber in the Middle East and Africa. I find it helpful to start these conversations with a little bit of background as to who we are, where we come from, and how our product works. Uber is a company that started in 2010 and was inspired by need. This is a photo of our co-founders, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp. It was taken in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And Travis and Garrett are serial entrepreneurs. They're always thinking about what the next idea is. And on a particularly challenging evening in Paris, I don't know if any of you have tried to get a taxi in that city, but it's quite difficult. And so Garrett and Travis wanted to create a product where they could push a button and get a car to pick them up. Our product is simple. It's mobile only. And we believe that starting and ending with the mobile phone is key to the success and growth of our product. There's no way to book an Uber outside of downloading an app for your iPhone, Android, Windows Phone, or BlackBerry. The same app works in any of our 200+ cities globally. And when you open the application, you see a map with cars available. These cars are in different flavors, economy, a business product, and then sometimes a luxe product as well. Once you request a car, that car and driver is automatically assigned to you. And that happens in a matter of seconds. The idea behind our product is, can you take the unused time of cars and drivers across the cities that we operate in and bring a higher level of efficiency to those cars and drivers. Once you complete your trip, your payment information is stored and charged automatically. So there's no exchanging of cash and no fumbling at the end of your ride. That basic philosophy is one that we've employed and deployed globally. We're now active in 47 countries and over 200 cities around the world, now active in 8 cities across the Middle East. One of the ways that we look at our story is from humble beginnings and where we come from. This is a screenshot of an internal tool we have at Uber that allows us to monitor what's going on in a market. This is San Francisco, our first city, on an early day. And each of those blue lines is a concurrent Uber trip. And this was a Friday night, and there were 4 concurrent trips happening at one time. And we were celebrating. We thought we had made it. We thought this is what success looked like. And this is San Francisco on a recent Monday morning. What you see is an increase in the number of cars and a reduction in the amount of time that customers have to wait. So now in most of our cities, many of our Middle Eastern cities included, you can get a car in under 5 minutes. And that is a proposition that 2 or 3 years ago was extremely difficult to imagine. That story of building supply and reducing the amount of time customers wait increases the reliability of the product. And what it's done is it's led to a rapid expansion for our business. What this is actually something that somebody else outside of our company put together, mapping our expansion. And the blue dots are cities in the United States that we opened in, and the red dots are cities outside. And what this shows is the path and the timeline in which we expanded globally was far shorter than the equivalent expansion in the US. Dubai was our 35th city globally, and that was less than 18 months ago, and now active in over 200. We're firm believers that technology scales better than people, and that technology can always provide better solutions and more reliability. And so with Uber, you won't find overburdensome call centers. What you will find is technology as a means to solve your challenges. So one of the questions that customers asked was, I would love to be able to share with a friend or family member or loved one where I am and how long it'll take me to arrive. And so we built a feature called Share My ETA, and this is what's shown on the screen here. And what this allows is for a customer to real-time share the location with a friend or family member, along with how long they anticipate will take before they arrive at their destination. That use of technology to drive innovation and to drive and solve customer problems has led to tremendous growth for us. This is a run rate chart of our gross bookings annualized, and we've been very fortunate to see tremendous growth. I think perhaps what's more interesting is the network that we've been able to build in the markets that we operate in of drivers and customers. And so Uber as a company does not own any cars or employ any drivers. We partner with locally owned, locally operated companies in the Middle East, over several hundred companies that partner with Uber now. Each of the drivers that we work with are Uber qualified. And what that means is they go through an intense training process that allows for a higher level of service. Perhaps most importantly, we have a two-way rating system that allows customers to rate drivers after each trip that's taken. And that very quickly helps us identify who quality drivers are and reward them for that, and which drivers need support and guidance and help them get to a better place. Accountability is critical to success in this business, and we found that this system has brought on a new level of accountability. If you take an Uber in Abu Dhabi, I just look now, you can get a car in 3 minutes. Ask the driver how he reacts to his rating, because they take it very personally, and it's an indication of their ability to thrive. I think perhaps the most important component of our business is empowerment of entrepreneurship. This is a photo of a gentleman named Pete, who's one of our drivers in South Africa. Pete was about 8 months ago working in a factory assembling mobile phones. He went to work for somebody else, driving a car with Uber, saved a bit of money, and actually went out and he's standing in front of a new car that he bought himself and is now operating on the Uber platform. the idea of taking individuals and helping them help themselves, helping locally owned companies and helping local drivers is a particularly interesting point. In Lebanon, where we've launched recently, over 80% of our drivers own their own vehicles. And what that shows is tremendous opportunity for individuals to empower themselves, to help solve some of the challenges associated with employment and bring a level of ownership and entrepreneurship into the market. This is a graph of our supply growth in the Middle East over the last 12 months. And that beginning point was a year ago, where we were active in 3 cities, was not a small number. But over the last 12 months, that's grown 17 times. And what that says is that we cannot actually put enough cars on the road to meet the latent demand that exists. And so this is a bit of a pitch to you all, that if you're interested in buying some cars and putting them on Uber, please see me after. Part of what allows for that supply growth is more efficiency. So in the old world of transportation, you booked a car before you left on your flight. And when you landed in your destination, you expected the car to be there. But what if your flight was delayed by 2 hours? This happened to me in Qatar about a year ago, before we launched. If your flight's delayed for 2 hours, that driver has now basically wasted the 2 hours of that time standing there waiting for you. Imagine if that driver could have gone and picked up additional customers and been there when you were waiting. That leads to increased earnings for the driver, increased sort of supply provided to customers, and a little bit less guilt on your conscience as well. So what this is what we show all of our drivers, which is where in the city they are most likely to get a trip, most likely to do more business. And this shows by color essentially a heat map of which regions they're likely to work in. A second component for us has been reducing the cost of transportation services in many of the markets that we operate in. This has been particularly relevant in Saudi. And we've rolled out a product called UberX, which is the low-cost Uber. The same technology, same efficiency, same product at a lower price point. You know, the premise of this panel is from global to local, and I guess I would politely disagree with it just a little bit. This is a screenshot of all of our trips that have happened in Dubai over the last year, captured by GPS. And what you see is effectively a map of Dubai. This region has been and has become a crossroads for the world. It's a place that has combined global innovation and technology with local ambition. We heard on the previous panel over 200 nationalities residing in the UAE. This has always been a place that's welcoming and encouraging and collaborative. And so from our point of view, the growth we've seen in this region, one of our fastest globally, is indicative of that hospitality and indicative of that opportunity. So 2 numbers I'll share with you are, 1, 20% of our UAE customers have used Uber outside of the UAE. And the ability to use the same product, same technology, same payment method anywhere in the world has been seen as a great boon. Secondarily, a year ago, that number was 10%. So that's only increasing. Second, in Saudi Arabia, 50% of our customers that are using Uber are actually from outside of the kingdom, who are looking for a reliable transport alternative that's transparently priced and available when they need it. So this map of Uber cities is particularly relevant to this region because of how connected and because of how dependent other markets are on what this region provides. And so when we opened our business in the UAE, I think it was very important for us to bring in a team that represents what's important. And so this is a photo of our Middle East team participating in the Ice Bucket Challenge. And this group of people I'm very proud of because they're from this region, born and raised. They represent 8 Middle Eastern and North African countries and are incredibly passionate about building this product and delivering this service here. When I talk to them and ask what excites them about what we're doing, I get the same answer, which is we want to bring the same technology and products and services that exist in the cities people travel to or spend time in or studied in to our homes. And that's what motivates us, that's what drives us, And for me, that's why I'm incredibly excited and bullish about where we're headed next. Thank you.
Thank you both. So I have a quick question. I'm going to start by asking a few questions, then open it up for questions from the audience, either it be through this lovely iPad or by mic. So Magnus, I wanted to start asking you a question. So you left, your nice consulting job. What was the rationale behind you doing it? Taking that leap of faith. Was it driven by local consideration, success from global competitors? What made you take that leap of faith?
So I actually needed a bit of a kick in the butt, and it was delivered 3 years ago, almost on the day. I had a brain surgery, massive open brain surgery, which was the result of an aneurysm. And that was the little bit of self-reflection that I went through. And on that path, I realized that I loved what I was doing, but there was more important things out there, and I had to go out and build something. So it was actually a reflection of I need to go out and build something.
What was the key gap that you found in the market that made you choose to do something like Careem?
So the primary driver was to do something meaningful. And we looked at a lot of different areas where you can do something meaningful. And many of them have been discussed here on the panel. Education is a big one. Healthcare is another big one. But then we realized that we have a bit of a big pain point that me and my co-founder was experiencing, as I mentioned, in our everyday life, which was transportation. So it was just in front of us, and we said, let's really try to do something about it.
Thanks. Jambu, a question to Uber. What got you interested in the region? What made you? I know you touched upon it in your presentation, but what was one of the key reasons that got you interested in the Middle East, in the UAE, and to move here? And why didn't you do it through partnering with others as opposed to doing it yourself?
Yeah, so when we think about expansion, I think we look at kind of two things. One is we look at latent demand, and so one of the regions that we had the most number of customers using Uber when they traveled in was the GCC. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to very easily, quickly understand their interest in having this product available. And then secondarily, when we came to do some fact-finding and research, there was very high interest from local operators mm-hmm. in a partnership with a company like Uber. So I would disagree with the premise of that we don't have a partner here. I think we have many partners here, and many of the companies that we work with have grown their businesses and registered more cars and employed more drivers. Mm-hmm. as a result of the business that we've partnered together to bring. I think when you come here and you walk around the cities in this region and you walk around the UAE, I think you understand the potential and you understand the rapid growth and that the cities are growing faster than anything anyone has ever seen. And so the infrastructure support that a company like Uber can provide to help in that growth is pretty evident.
Thanks for that. Question to you, to both. What are the key challenges that you guys are facing in the region? And I understand there are many. Well, operational, legal, funding to certain extents, maybe with you. Feel free to.
Okay.
Sorry. Maybe think of it in the context of you giving your experience to up-and-coming startups or entrepreneurs coming or joining this space.
Sure. So I think maybe three things. The first one is. As Jambu, you just said, the infrastructure is not there in all the places yet, right? So, we don't have street addresses. We have a communication gap. People speak so many different languages. There's a lot of just very basic infrastructure pieces that when you start a startup here, you need to help bridge them as a second thing to doing your own business model. So that's number one. The second thing, I think, is access to talent. There is an enormous amount of incredibly talented people in the region, but most of them are already, they're already employed somewhere else, and exciting them to come on board on an entrepreneurial journey, and taking the risk of going all in. That's been a big one. And then thirdly, and I think this is more for all the young entrepreneurs that are out there wishing to start something, it is a relatively expensive region to start in. And you need setting up a company, registering a company, getting your first office space. It's not cheap. So all these initiatives that we have heard about, local incubators, accelerators, angels that are there to help, are incredibly important to actually making this happen.
I think our biggest challenge has been an operational one, which is the demand for our product has outstripped the existing supply in the market. And so in many of our markets today, we're in a world where we are desperately looking for additional partners to come in and partner with and bring cars onto the Uber platform. So I think we've been able to find very strong, talented people who are interested in building this business in this region. I think we've been able to build technology that can help solve some of the unique infrastructure challenges here. But we need a few more cars.
What's next? So you guys have great platforms. You touched upon a lot of the insights that you get from your apps and the users and the data. What's next? Where does Uber go?
I mean, I think there's still a long way to go in transportation, right? Like there's different alternatives. We've already talked about, many products that we've trialed, and so we have low-cost products. We've launched Uber Chopper product recently in several markets. We've started to think about a product called Uber Pool, and what that is imagine the number of people that are leaving this conference and going back to Dubai. What if, using technology, you could actually share that ride and reduce the cost of that ride by 50%? So that's something we started trialing now in San Francisco and in Paris, and certainly something that eventually we'll think about in the context of the region. And then the third component is, once we deliver a car to you in 5 minutes, there's not a lot we can't deliver to you in 5 minutes. And so, we've done experiments with dates around Ramadan, and we've done experiments with ice cream in the summer months. And so I expect those will continue and increase. I think in a week in Dubai, you'll be able to request a McLaren for a test drive on demand. And so for us, I think the potential of the platform is tremendous, and the interest in leveraging that for other products is quite high.
Thank you. What about you, Magnus? What's next? Where do you see Careem?
Yeah, so I agree that there is still a lot to be done in the transportation space, and people are just kind of screaming to get more of services like ours. Particularly in places like Saudi Arabia, we have an enormous amount of female that don't drive. And they want to be able to go to work every day, they want to take their children to school, and they want to be empowered. So there's a lot of work to be done there. But then obviously we are excited about what we can do next. And we think of it as we're building a platform or a grid, and then you can add a lot of services on top of it. And I think one of the really exciting propositions is we talked about previously here during the summit about e-commerce. And one of the biggest challenges for, I would say, all e-commerce companies, there's two big challenges. One is delivery. How do you deliver to your customer? And the second one is cash on delivery. 80%, 85% of all transactions are on cash on delivery, and a big portion of those are returned by the customers when you come to deliver them. So we are looking at how can we, once we have this platform and this grid in place, work together with players in that space to help.
Well, thanks for that. Just wanted to add one last question from my end before we open it to Q&A, because we're running out of time. If you want to leave young and upcoming entrepreneurs one key message, what would that be?
I think for me, it's very simple. You've got to be hungry, right? Like if you want a comfortable job where you feel like you fully understand everything that's going to be thrown at you every day, entrepreneurship, starting a business, working for an early stage company is not for you. When I first told my mom I was going to work for Uber about 3 years ago, she thought I was going to go drive the cars. And that, effectively is the attitude that you need to be successful. So ensure that you're willing and ready to step out of that comfortable world.
What about yourself, Magnus?
I think I have 3 life commandments that I try to live by. The discount rate on life is very high, so you need to go in and do something now. The second one is you're going to be fine. And so, you really need to go after your true purpose in life. And the third one is dump the fear. Fear can destroy anything. So, if I sum it all up, just do it.
Perfect. So, any questions from the crowd? I have one right here.
Thank you. I'm Talal with the UAE Embassy in Washington, D.C. My question is to both of you, maybe building on what Issa asked in terms of the challenges. You mentioned everything from infrastructure, access to talent, cost, operational, and delivery issues that you face collectively, both companies. But looking at it from an entrepreneur's perspective outside of this industry, the challenges that I'm interested in hearing from you are what you faced in terms of gaining market access and even structuring the company. In Jambu, I remember meeting with you in 2010 back in the embassy when you were looking at what type of setup to choose here in the UAE. So some of the challenges there that you feel other entrepreneurs might face. And then Magnus, perhaps in terms of the stock option aspect that you said the company gives out. Structurally within the UAE law as it's defined, that's not something that is there, but it is something that would incentivize entrepreneurs. So how did you go about it, and what do you think could be done from a regulatory standpoint to make it easier? Thank you.
I think from my standpoint, I think the UAE has been incredibly welcoming to our company from a structural and operational perspective, right? And so we're set up in TCOM, and we have a great ability to add people and bring employees to the region. I think our partnership structure with our partners, those companies are all locally owned and operated in all of the countries that we work in, is one that has worked very well. So I think maybe it's, until I'm thinking about our conversation a couple of years ago, I think it's probably a lot of misconception. And clearing that up as we learned and investigated about how to set up in the region became clear, because there are vehicles for foreign companies to enter. It's clearly a market that is open and interested in bringing the best ideas and best products in. And I think the talent that exists and the ability to bring talent in is quite a unique proposition. And I've had several emails of outreach from some of my team members in the US saying, we'd love an experience abroad. It's kind of tough for us to get a work permit in Europe. Would we be able to come to the UAE? And I think that's exactly the ethos that the region wants to convey.
Magnus, can we make it really quick?
Yeah, I'll be brief. So I think in the UAE, we are also set up in TCOM. While it's a bit expensive for a young entrepreneur, the process is very smooth. So that has been a very easy process for us. And now I think with initiatives like Flat 6 Labs and having an easy incorporation also here in Abu Dhabi, I think these things are changing and getting easier. In terms of stock options, the way we have structured ourselves, there's many ways to do it. We have a holding company in British Virgin Islands where all these things happen, because that part of ownership structures is still a little bit heavy here, right? So, hope that answers your question.
Thank you both. I'm sorry we can't take more questions, but we'll probably be outside and we can have a chat with whoever has any additional questions. Join you by thanking our lovely guests.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Issa, and for your speakers. Thanks.
نعم. إذن ثمة قطعة أخيرة لحل لغز الابتكار، وهو حول سؤال محدد: كيف يمكن تحويل رأس المال والأفكار إلى حقيقة؟ ما الذي يبحث عنه المستثمرون؟ وكيف يحولون ما بعد التمويل إلى واقع واستثمار ناجح دياله؟
Yes, Faisal.